Get me that signal. We need more power.
Welcome to another Voice of E board game review. I'm your host Elliott Miller, and today I am looking at the Lord of the Rings dice building game from Wizkids. This game is for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 and up. 14? But really any 12-year-old could learn how to play it. The back of the box says, Middle-earth is under attack. Sauron's forces include the vile orcs, hordes of goblins, the mighty ringwraiths, and more. Standing between Sauron and the One Ring, he needs to complete his tyrannical plans are a few desperate heroes. Hobbits, small in stature but stout-hearted, may be the key. Gain glory for your people as you travel through Middle-earth and work together to defeat Sauron to save the people of Middle-earth. Well, that's from the back of the box. Let's take a look inside the box. The Lord of the Rings dice building game comes with 4-player mats where your dice action will take place. This is what one looks like. The mats also describe the steps for a player's turn, which is pretty convenient. They're fairly thin, but they're nicely thematic. Look at that, Lord of the Rings. And there's one for Sauron as well, which describes the steps for taking his turn. And that is up here. And it's got the location cards on it already. Let's see, I'll put that back up there. Also included are various cards representing the members of the Fellowship, other characters of Middle-earth, different artifacts, weapons, and elven gifts. This is a typical setup right here in front of you. This is actually how the game is set up. Just some things can change. Which characters in the game, which heirlooms, things like that. Several Sauron cards also let you know the enemies you'll be facing during the coming struggle. And that's these cards down here on the side. There's a scoring mat and cube for each player with some nice matching colored dice bags. See, here's the scoring mat where you keep track of your score during the game. The player with the highest score will win, of course. And there's little cubes, and there's these dice bags in matching colors too. We have player blue playing and player red playing. He's up there. The rulebook that comes with the game is probably one of the worst that I've ever seen. Now, I've never played Warriors, and so I really had no idea what I was getting into. It's my understanding that this game is actually very different from Warriors in any case, so prior experience might hinder you more than help you. This rulebook has become so notorious in its badness that a new rulebook has been written and is available for download on the Wizkids site and on Board Game Geek. After reading the rulebook, I still had no idea how to play the actual game. I put the game away until the release of the new rules and several videos on BGG from Radho, which helped quite a bit. When it comes down to it, the game isn't as complex as you might imagine it to be when you first start scratching your head over the provided rules. The initial setup is fully described, using Frodo, Sam, and Build-A-Pony's cards and dice. That's this top row up here. That's what you start with. Sauron is set up, but starts with nothing, because he hasn't got his game on yet. Most of the cards in the game, except for the location cards, are associated with a specific type of die. The bottom of the cards show all 6 faces of the dice. Let me try to zoom in here a little. See, there's Legolas and Gimli's card, and their associated dice. And at the bottom of the card you see it shows every face of the die on the card. So, and the color almost matches too. So it's not going to be too tough for you to figure out which dice go with which card. Takes a little figuring out, but it's not too bad. Zoom back out. Each player starts with 8 Frodo dice, So you'll have more of those than anything else. In fact, you can't buy more Frodo dice, but you can buy more Sam dice, and you can buy Build a Pony dice. You'll also each get 2 Sam dice to place in your bag for a total of 10 starting dice. You put the 2 additional Sam dice next to Sam's card and 4 Build a Pony dice next to Build a Pony's card. Build a Pony is excellent, just so you know. The game is location driven. Your goal is to work your way through the entire stack of 8 location cards in order to bring the One Ring to Mount Doom, destroy it, and win the game for the players. It's a co-op type of game, but in the end, there can be only one winner. And the player with the most points on the scoring track is the ultimate winner of the game. Supposedly, all of the players can lose if Sauron wins, but I have yet to see that happen. The location cards contain most of the information that you'll spend a lot of time paging through the rules trying to find. For example, the Shire says each player places 8 Frodo and 2 Sam dice in their bag. You place the basic cards in the wilds, and that's just their names for the Frodo card, the Sam card, and the Build a Pony card goes up in the top row. Give the One Ring to the starting player. So either player 1 or player 2 or player 3, player 4, whoever you got. One of them is a starting player. They get to start with the One Ring. And that's just this little token. Let's see. It didn't provide you with an actual One Ring. Yes, and that's not a tiny face on it. It's supposed to be a ring. In case you were wondering. It's actually easier to just start playing and figure it out as you go than to decipher the rulebook. A player is given the One Ring marker, and they take the first turn. Play proceeds around the table, and when it gets back to the player with the One Ring, that player now takes Sauron's turn, and passes the ring to the next player, who starts by taking their own turn again. In this way, the ring is passed from player to player, and each player will have a chance to act as Sauron. The cards let you know when you move to the next location, and what to do with Sauron's dice. The first round is always the breather round. You're in the Shire and nothing bad is going on there, so you get a chance to buy a new die and maybe collect a point or 2 before Sauron gets some of his minions out. On your turn, you'll pull 5 dice from your bag and roll them. In most cases, you'll get a fellowship symbol, which is a bit like the currency of the game. Why don't we just do that right now? Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm just going to grab 5 dice. That's 4. 5 dice, and I'm just going to roll them. Okay. This is the fellowship symbol. So that's 2 fellowship points. And of course, all the rest of them have fellowship symbols as well. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. It's kind of like, the fellowship symbol is kind of like the currency of the game, or it's mana if you think of Magic the Gathering. Some dice will have unit symbols, which are indicated by the numbers on 3 corners of the face of the die. So let's go to one of those. Here's one of them, although you can only see 2. Why? Because the white is gone on that one. Let's find another one. Ah, there we go. See, this is Frodo's level 1 die, where he's got 1 attack and 2 defense. So see, that is a unit die. And you would use that for your attacking. Rawr. You can muster these units for attack by spending your fellowship points to get them on the battlefield. He's a level 1, so in order to muster him in my muster pool, I have to pay 1 fellowship point. Boop. So I put that in my spent pile. I am spent. And now Frodo is mustered and ready to attack with mustard. You can attack any of Sauron's dice that he's prepared to attack the players. But of course, in the first turn, there are none. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to come around and you're going to get a point for having this die here in your muster area. If you have any fellowship points left over, you can either purchase a die from those available, like the wonderful Build a Pony die, which would cost you 3 fellowship points for 1 Build a Pony die. Or you can uncorrupt one of the cards that Sauron has gained evil influence over. If Sauron manages to corrupt a certain number of cards, depending on the number of players, then the players lose the game. Oh. In round 2, you head to Rivendell, and several new cards come out with their own dice. This will be different from game to game. Elrond has different ways to help the players along and add some variety to it. So this second row comes out, and Sauron gets some enemies, you get some more dice to choose from, and there's a couple of different cards so they won't be the same every game. You'll more than likely you will proceed to the next location at the conclusion of round 2. Almost all the time. Sauron only has 2 piddly dice that you have to beat. And you'll head into the Mines of Moria. This is where the rest of the cards, all the rest of the cards, and the dice come to the table, and you're deep into the game proper. It will be more difficult from then on to move forward, but if you stick to it, you'll eventually win out and defeat Sauron. Oh, and lest I forget, I love the box. The box is spectacular because all the dice fit inside along with everything else, and then you have this nice little cover that keeps everything from falling out. I just had to point that out because I love it. My first trip into the world of dice building games was a good one. Lord of the Rings, the dice building game, is thematic, and its cooperative nature is interesting, but a little too easily avoidable. Everyone has the same enemy, but we were never in any serious danger of losing the game to Sauron. In many games, we never even needed to spend any of our glory points to stop Sauron from winning. When it got close, we would just spend our fellowship points on uncorrupting cards instead of other things. What this means is that I think the game is a little too easy as it is. In fact, it lasts too long for a game that you are pretty sure that you're going to win. It gets difficult at times, but the difficulties basically make the game last longer rather than putting the players in any real danger of losing. The players will eventually beat all of those evil dice, but the worse you roll, the longer it's going to take you. The journey is fun though, the game is enjoyable, and building up your dice pool is a neat mechanic. They need a way to toughen it up and raise the challenge level. A few options in the new rules help, but they don't go quite far enough. I also think that there should be more locations. The same path every game can get pretty tiresome. They didn't have to go that exact path that they traveled. There were a couple other ways they could have went. You could even modify the length and difficulty of the game by incorporating other location cards. Also, they need to include some blank dice in the game. When a card gets corrupted, the card's dice can no longer be used. They just basically take up space in your dice bag. You roll them and it does nothing for you until you can get that card uncorrupted again. I'm looking at you, Sam. Well, it's incredibly easy to forget that those dice don't count anymore. Incredibly easy. And so you spend a lot of time doing do-overs because of this exact fact. With blank dice, which, yeah, okay, so a dozen blank dice, I'm sorry, it adds $1, okay? That's my guess. Or maybe $1 million, I'm not sure. You can remove those corrupted dice from your bag and place them over on the side, replacing them with these blank dice. When the card gets restored, yay, simply swap the dice back again, and no one will need to remember anything. Overall, this is a decent game that suffers from a bad rulebook and is a bit too easy. Fans of Middle-earth will have a good time, and if you love the tactile feel of a big pile of dice, and who doesn't, then you'll like Lord of the Rings the Dice Building game. Thanks for joining me for this review. Let me know if you found the review helpful by leaving a comment or sending me an email at elliott_miller@voiceofe.com. Make sure to subscribe to the Voice of E channel on YouTube, as I'll have plenty of gaming, entertainment, comic book coverage this year, and it should be a lot of fun. Thanks again, and until the next time,
We need more power.